Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Double M from the Touch 'Em Up podcast, and we're going to be doing a little bit different of a video. I heard a lot of people in that fantasy booking Bray Wyatt's WWE return video wanting to see more fantasy booking, wanting to see more fantasy cards, wanting to see more of, my thoughts behind the curtain and how I would book certain storylines, certain matches, certain events, and things like that. And after that Jay Uso video that I did in the series that spun off of it, I feel like this is only fitting because we're going to be talking about Jay Uso towards the end of the video. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Don't hit him with the kitchen sink, you know what I mean? So we're going to be talking about SummerSlam taking place Saturday, August 5th from Detroit, Michigan. SummerSlam's always one of the biggest events of the year. And last year's SummerSlam is one of the best SummerSlams that the WWE has ever done. And coincidentally, it was the first event that Triple H ever had his hands on fully. The first fully booked Triple H event under his new, position after Vince McMahon walked away, even though he's back in the shadows now. So we're going to look at the SummerSlam card. I didn't book every match. There's no women's championship matches on this video just because there wasn't anything that really stuck out to me, even though I did predict Io Sky to win the women's briefcase along with Damian Priest to win the men's Money in the Bank. If you haven't watched the video, I'll leave a link to that Money in the Bank predictions video in the description. We did pretty well overall, but we're going to talk about the card for SummerSlam. I'm going to predict how I would book, or not so much predict, but show you how I would book the matches throughout the card. And let's get it started, baby. Come on. Alright, we're going to kick it off with a triple threat match for the United States Championship. And I know a lot of people were expecting LA Knight to walk out with the Money in the Bank briefcase. I would say maybe 20% of predictors and people in the pro wrestling community, the YouTube wrestling community, had Damian Priest walking out with the briefcase, myself included. And that's not to toot my own horn, that's just going off realism and, what people's realistic expectations were for this show. And I think since LA Knight lost, he's probably not going to be going after any world titles in the near future, but I think he will set his sights on the mid-card title on SmackDown. And who's the mid-card champion right now? A-Town down, tearing the place down, Austin Theory. So I think Austin Theory should realistically defend his United States Championship against LA Knight, considering he doesn't have any concrete challengers going into the pay-per-view that's just over a month away. But I don't think it should be a singles match. I think LA Knight versus Austin Theory has a lot built into it with the mic work, with the charisma, with the charismatic, things that they can do in a build-up to that singles match. I feel like it's bigger than SummerSlam. I think they can really build up that individual storyline, so I say why not add another person to that match? And I think Pete Dunne, aka Butch, even though he's slowly making his way back to being the Pete Dunne that we loved over in NXT and NXT UK, I think you add Butch to the match. So I think a triple threat match for the United States Championship between the champion at Austin Theory, LA Knight, and Butch would be a phenomenal way to book the U.S. Championship going into SummerSlam. Who do I think would win this match? I mean, honestly, I think it's Austin Theory's time to lose the championship, but he's doing so well. I feel like if he loses it, it's only to propel him into a storyline for a world championship. So I don't really see him going after a world title right now, but if I have to predict who I think's going to win, I mean, I'll just go out on a limb and say, I'll say Austin Theory retains, but I could easily see him losing the title here at SummerSlam. But yeah, I think Theory versus Butch, aka Pete Dunne versus LA Knight in a triple threat for the U.S. title is the way to book this going into the show of shows. Not the showcase of the Immortals, but the biggest party of the summer. Up next is a match I don't really think needs any introduction. We had this built up starting over at the Royal Rumble with the double springboard action between Ricochet and Logan Paul. I think Ricochet and Logan Paul at SummerSlam is what they've been building to this entire time. They've already started a feud on SmackDown. We know that this match is more than likely 99% gonna take place, and I think that this is perfect. I talked about it in my Money in the Bank predictions video, how I think that you had to take Logan Paul and Ricochet out of the field for the Money in the Bank because they were going to be crossing paths again. You saw it at the Royal Rumble. You saw it in the Money in the Bank. I expect these two to put on one of, if not the matches of the night at SummerSlam in Detroit. And I think Logan Paul versus Ricochet is perfect. I think everything in this match is going to be great. I think they're going to tear the house down. Who do I think is going to win? I think you have to give Logan Paul the win, but who I want to win, I mean, obviously I would want Ricochet to get a big SummerSlam victory over a, megastar in the world of entertainment in Logan Paul, even though he's not so much a megastar in the WWE, but he's working his way up and impressing and, proving a lot of the doubters wrong when it comes to his WWE career and his in-ring work, especially after his WrestleMania debut and then the match with Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel. Logan Paul can really get it done inside the ring in the squared circle in the WWE, but I think Logan Paul versus Ricochet is perfect for SummerSlam. I think it's going to happen. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Logan Paul gets a clean victory over Ricochet, but me personally, I'd like to see Ricochet get the win here. All right, up next is a match that I think everybody knows is going to take place again, just like we touched on with Logan Paul and Ricochet, and it's going to be a match between the returning Drew McIntyre and the Intercontinental Champion, one of the longest reigning Intercontinental Champions in the history of the WWE, on the cusp of breaking Honky Tonk Man's record, or in Santino Marella's words, the Honky Tonky Man. You have Gunther, the Ring General. Gunther versus McIntyre. It's perfect. It's everything you could want in a match. And I mean, they had their match at WrestleMania between Gunther, Sheamus, and McIntyre. You know that these guys are going to have a stiff shoot fight style, British strong style type of match, and that they're going to just beat the absolute living shit out of each other. We know that. We expect that. I don't think anybody expects anything different between these two. I think this is a match that everybody's wanted to see for a long time, and I think a lot of people are going to go into this match thinking that McIntyre is going to defeat Gunther and take the title off of him. I don't think so. I think the only way McIntyre wins a world championship or a singles championship, at least at this point in his career, is number one, bring that Broken Dreams theme song back, baby. Come on, we need that back. But number two is to become a heel. I think McIntyre as a heel has always done his best work. I mean, when he came into the WWE and a lot of people hated his guts, he was a heel. He was the poster child for Vince McMahon way before Roman Reigns back in around 2009 and 2010. But my favorite era of Drew McIntyre was when he tag teamed alongside Dolph Ziggler. I think Ziggler and McIntyre as a team, that was my favorite iteration of Drew McIntyre as a character. The Scottish psychopath, just a stone cold killer. And I think we need to see that if McIntyre's going to get back to the promised land and do the best work in his career. McIntyre's good as a face, he's great in the ring, but he's just really not doing it for me at this point with his character. I think he needs to become a heel. I don't really think it'll happen in this match with Gunther, but at the same time, I don't think he takes the title off Gunther just yet. I think they're building something huge, something big, potentially a match with Cody Rhodes following WrestleMania 40, but I think they're building something really big for Gunther, potentially a World Heavyweight Championship win, but this match has to take place. It's going to steal the show, but I am going to go with Gunther to retain the title, and one of the best matches and stiffest matches you'll see on the main roster, in my opinion. Up next is going to be a match for the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships between the champions and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, defending the titles against members of the LWO. This is not really like a big storyline that I had planned out or anything specific. I just think that it's a decent match. It's a fresh match with Santos Escobar and not Joaquin Wilde, Raul Mendoza, but he has a different name on the main roster in this faction. But, I think that the LWO versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn just has a good feel to it with Zelina Vega, with Rey Mysterio, building this faction, bringing it back from WCW back in the day when Eddie Guerrero used to be in the LWO. I think that this is a fresh matchup, and that's what I'm looking for on this card in some aspects. I think we need fresh matches for the tag team titles. I think there are some people from NXT and some groups from NXT that you can bring up to the main roster, like the Creed brothers. I think the Creed brothers going after the tag team titles once they make their main roster debut would be a great idea, but this was just something that I threw together and something that I think would be fresh and exciting going into SummerSlam. I would expect Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn to retain the tag team titles here, but again, it was something fresh. It was something we haven't seen yet, and I like this idea. So give me the members of the LWO in Raul Mendoza and Santos Escobar to take on Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn for the tag team titles. I would expect Kevin and Sami to retain the titles, obviously, but yeah, I like this match for SummerSlam. Up next is a showcase match, and just something I put together that's a little bit out of left field, and I don't think a lot of people would be expecting it, but like I said, fresh matchups, fresh ideas. They've been teasing, Gargano and Ciampa getting back together on the main roster before Ciampa made his main roster return. He was originally going to go up against Seth Rollins during his World Heavyweight Championship Open Challenge, but that was scrapped in order to build up a match between Finn Balor and Seth Rollins for the title, which I don't really mind, but I think that this kind of can put everything into perspective. And I think Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio as members of the Judgment Day, as dissension is going to start to foster and chip away at the foundation of the Judgment Day with Damian Priest becoming Mr. Money in the Bank, I think you have Gargano and Ciampa reform DIY on the main roster and take on Dominic Mysterio and Finn Balor. There's nothing huge that I expect for SummerSlam for Balor or Mysterio going into the show. Maybe you could rebook Seth Rollins and Finn Balor for the World Heavyweight Championship in a rematch at SummerSlam, but I don't really like that idea. I don't think you need to go with a rematch between these two, but I could definitely see them doing that. But if they don't, I think the Judgment Day versus DIY at SummerSlam, it's a tag team showcase match. There's not like a huge storyline behind it, but you know that these two teams would tear it apart and tear the house down in the ring. So I like Gargano and Ciampa reforming DIY on the main roster and taking on Dominic Mysterio and Finn Balor of the Judgment Day. I would expect, I'll go out on a limb and say DIY wins because it's going to add to, the Judgment Day starting to fall apart a little bit. And, after Priest won the Money in the Bank, everything kind of shifting and falling apart and being on shaky legs following the Money in the Bank win. But I'll go with DIY to win, but I like Gargano and Ciampa versus Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio of the Judgment Day. It's a big match. It has a big fight feel, but there's no titles on the line, and it's not like whoever loses this match is going to be stunted, with a lot of momentum, but whoever wins isn't going to gain a ton of momentum either. But I like this idea. I would go with DIY to beat the Judgment Day at SummerSlam. But yeah, give me Gargano and Ciampa versus Balor and Mysterio. Up next is hopefully the final match of this feud between the never-ending story of Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar. I don't want this match to happen. I don't think this match needs to happen, but I expect it to. And this will be the swan song of the feud, even though it should have been at Money in the Bank, but a lot of WWE fans know this. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this match. I don't think anybody would expect me to because we've seen it multiple times. But to add a little bit of intrigue, to add a little bit of interest, I'm going to put a stipulation on it. And we're going to go with Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar in a Texas Bull Rope match. If you go back and watch my fantasy booking Bray Wyatt's WWE return video, I actually started a feud between Cody Rhodes and Bray Wyatt and The Fiend, when he was coming back to the WWE, but this was also going off of Cody Rhodes hypothetically defeating Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, which didn't happen, but I put a stipulation in there for a Texas Bull Rope match between Cody Rhodes and The Fiend. And although this isn't The Fiend, I think that the stipulation fits this story. I could see some people saying maybe the fight pit would be a good stipulation for Cody and Brock, and I like that idea as well, and I think that would be really, really cool to see the fight pit at SummerSlam, but I don't see them bringing that match up to the main roster for this feud. So I say a Texas Bull Rope match. It has ties to, Cody Rhodes' father and Dusty Rhodes. It brings back an old school feel, an old school fight feel, a big fight feel to this match. Besides it just being a regular match with no stipulation, it adds a little bit of interest, which is what you're going to need because I don't think a lot of people are looking forward to this match to begin with. But I think you have to have Cody Rhodes win. I think he definitely beats Brock Lesnar, even though he's beat him in almost every single match of the feud, which I don't necessarily agree with, but they got to keep the story going somehow. But I think Brock Lesnar should win, but more than likely Cody Rhodes will get the job done. But yeah, I like a Texas Bull Rope match between Rhodes and Lesnar, building up to Rhodes inevitably facing Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40 or somewhere close to WrestleMania and rekindling that story as he builds his way back up to the championship following the loss with the interference from Solo Sikoa at WrestleMania. But yeah, give me the Texas Bull Rope match between Cody and Brock. I think it's the perfect stipulation that's going to make fans care about it, even if they only care, 50-60%. It's better than what they would with no stipulation, which I think fans would care about 20 to 30% of the time. But I'll go with Cody Rhodes to win, even though I think Brock Lesnar should probably get a victory here because he's lost a little bit of his steam and build-up and, dominance in this feud with Cody Rhodes, which I don't necessarily agree with either. But yeah, we'll go Cody Rhodes to beat Brock Lesnar in the Texas Bull Rope match. But yeah, give me this match for this feud to finish it off so we don't have to see it again. All right, and here's where we get to the interesting stuff. The stuff that I don't really think anybody would be expecting going into SummerSlam, and that's a match between Edge, the Rated R Superstar, and John Cena. I know we've seen Edge and John Cena multiple times throughout the Ruthless Aggression era, but since Edge came back and made his return, we haven't seen Edge and John Cena go at it. And I feel like a match now between the two would be a lot better with in-ring work, a lot better with technical work, and I think they could tell a really interesting story going into SummerSlam. I know going into Night of Champions that Edge was saying that this was his final run to go for a world title, and he wanted to win a world title before he retired, because the retirement of Edge is more than likely going to happen within the next 1 to 1.5 years. I think he will retire very soon and call it a career, and he's had a great run since his return back at the Royal Rumble in 2020, I believe. It was the 2020 Rumble, right? No, 2021. 2021 Royal Rumble. No, 2020, because it was before COVID. He had a really solid run, going back. No, wait, was it Royal Rumble 2020 that he returned? I think it was. If I'm wrong, then you can, yell at me in the comments. But I think that Edge versus John Cena, going off the fact that John Cena returned at Money in the Bank, said that he wanted to bring WrestleMania to London, and it was a big thing. I think there's going to be a big match for John Cena, and I think Edge versus John Cena in a showcase bout between the two legends, the legends of the Ruthless Aggression era, is the perfect match for the two. You could have either man win, and it wouldn't make a difference. I think the big fight feel, the flashbacks to the Ruthless Aggression era, it would be perfect for SummerSlam. I think it's the perfect match for Cena, as I don't really see a big opponent for him unless he faced Gunther, but I don't think they're going to do that. I think Edge versus Cena is great. It doesn't even have to have a feud because they already have so much history between the two. It's a good match between them. It's a big match for SummerSlam, and I think it's the best match you could make for Cena or Edge. So give me Edge versus John Cena in a battle at SummerSlam in Detroit. When it comes to a winner, I'll say give the win to Edge. I think he needs it more than Cena does, even though Cena hasn't won many matches since he's, gone on this part-timer gig in the WWE, but I think Edge needs it more than Cena does. So give me Edge to defeat John Cena at SummerSlam, but Edge versus Cena is great. I love it. I think it's perfect for these two going into the biggest party of the summer. All right, up next, a match that I think everybody is slowly but surely expecting. We thought Randy Orton was going to be retiring from in-ring competition following his neck injury and the neck surgery. We thought he wasn't going to be able to come back, but it looks like Randy Orton is making his way back to the WWE. And if he does, the only thing you do is Randy Orton versus Matt Riddle. Even this match could be in a fight pit, because Matt Riddle was in a fight pit with Timothy Thatcher over in NXT. I think the fight pit would be a good stipulation for this match because of them being a team, and then Orton turning on Riddle and then going away from his injury. I think that this is a perfect idea. If it happens at SummerSlam, that's great. There is a possibility it doesn't happen until later on down the line, but this feels like a big fight. It's a big match. It's a big feud between former tag team partners, with Randy Orton turning on Riddle. And I love Randy Orton versus Matt Riddle. When it comes to a winner, I think the only way you go and the only logical pick is for Matt Riddle to get a big victory over Randy Orton. Matt Riddle needs a big victory on the main roster. He needs to build his way back up. I don't know if the powers that be really love him, especially when it comes to Vince McMahon, but I think Triple H is a big proponent of Matt Riddle, so I think Matt Riddle defeats Randy Orton in a singles match at SummerSlam. It might be a street fight. It might be no holds barred. Like I said, it could be a fight pit, but I love the idea of Randy Orton making his big return at the biggest party of the summer and continuing the feud in the first singles match between Randy Orton and Matt Riddle following Orton turning on him. And you got the heel Randy Orton versus the baby face, hashtag 420 Matt Riddle, and these two would tear the house down. They'd have a great match, but I think this happens at SummerSlam, and I think Riddle gets a big victory on the Viper Randy Orton. All right, up next is Seth Rollins defending his World Heavyweight Championship against Shinsuke Nakamura. Look, I think Rollins and Nakamura would have a great match. I believe they had some singles matches on TV at least once or twice, but they did have that triple threat match at Survivor Series between Nakamura, Roderick Strong, and Seth Rollins back at, I think, Survivor Series 2019. It could be 2021. I could be wrong, but they did have that triple threat when NXT was involved in Survivor Series. But I don't really see any, concrete challengers for Seth Rollins. I know he went over to NXT and defended the title against Braun Breaker. I believe he either already did or is going to be defending the World Heavyweight Championship against Carmelo Hayes on NXT, which I think is great. I think Rollins is a great proponent for bringing this title back. He's going to make it a workhorse title. He's going to build up its prestige, and he was the perfect pick to win the World Heavyweight Championship. I made a video on booking the World Heavyweight Championship tournament on my channel as well, where I predicted the finals. I predicted almost all the triple threat matches and how the tournament and winner of the championship was going to be going down. But I think Nakamura and Rollins Rollins is great. It gives Nakamura another chance at a world championship win, which is something that has eluded him aside from his NXT championship win against Samoa Joe in NXT, but he's never won a world title on the main roster, won the 2018 Royal Rumble, one of my favorite Royal Rumbles of all time, but faced off with AJ, lost the match, turned heel to try to save it, faced him like 3 more times for the title and lost, faced Jinder Mahal for the title and lost. You know, every time he gets a shot at the World Heavyweight Championship or a world title, the WWE title, the Universal title, he comes up short, and it really has knocked Nakamura off of his track, and he just doesn't feel the same. I feel like under Triple H, he's going to get built back up, and we may see a world title win for Nakamura in 2024 or towards the end of this year, but I think it would more come next year, the middle or end of 2024. But at the end of the day, I think this match is good. I think it's a good idea. I'm not completely sold on it, but I know Nakamura and Rollins would tear the house down. The only thing I'm a little bit sour on is with Nakamura more than likely, 85 to 90% going to be losing this match. Does it really take away from his momentum? But he doesn't really have any momentum right now, so I don't think it's going to hurt him. I think they'll do a great match. They'll have a great match, but I do expect Seth Rollins to retain the title. But I think Nakamura, the King of Strong Style, Shinsuke Nakamura, is a good pick to win, or not to win, but to face the World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins at SummerSlam. And it's one of the only matches I could really come up with that I thought was, this will be a good match and it'll send the fans home happy regardless of the winner. So give me Seth Rollins defending his World Heavyweight Championship against Shinsuke Nakamura, but he will rock out still the champion, but they're going to have a great match. And this was what I thought to be the best option given the current circumstances. Alright, and then the moment you all have been waiting for, the main event of SummerSlam 2023 from Detroit is going to be the Universal Champion, the Tribal Chief, and Roman Reigns facing off against his former brother, the man who he had manipulated, the first servant of the Tribal Chief and Roman Reigns, in Jay Uso. I mean, this channel blew up because of the video I made talking about how the storyline between Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns wasn't about Sami, and it was all building up to Jay Uso turning on Roman Reigns and finally facing off. Now, going after Money in the Bank, where Jay Uso was not only the first man to ever pin Roman Reigns in the WWE, but now he's the last man to pin Roman Reigns in the WWE after pinning him at Money in the Bank in that tag team match in the Bloodline Civil War between Jimmy and Jay and Roman and Solo. That's only leading to one thing, and that's Jay Uso versus Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. That's going to be the main event, and it's going to be for the championship. The question is it the right idea for Jay Uso to beat Roman Reigns here? And if he doesn't, does it hurt Jay Uso to lose this match here against Roman Reigns? I'm a little bit upset just based on the fact that this match isn't taking place at WrestleMania. And based on the fact that it's not taking place at WrestleMania, I feel like the only logical answer for who's going to win this match is that Roman Reigns will walk out and still the Universal Champion. But who do I think is the best idea to win this match? I think you pull a huge swerve, you pull a huge shocker, and everybody's thinking that Roman Reigns is going to be battling Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. You have Jay Uso beat Roman Reigns here. But based on the fact he just ate a clean pin at Money in the Bank, I think that was to send the fans home happy, to give Jay Uso his big win over Roman, and lead him to lose this match and have Roman retain his title at SummerSlam. I just don't see him getting 2 back-to-back victories on Roman Reigns. Whether this victory would be clean or dirty with the interference of Jimmy, with Solo potentially turning on Roman, I think there's more to tell in this story, and it's just going to be, how do they book this story? How do they end this match at SummerSlam without making Jay look weak and without making Roman look too strong and still showing the cracks in the family? I don't really know right now. It's very up in the air, but I do think that Jay Uso versus Roman Reigns for the title is going to be the main event of SummerSlam, and I do expect Roman Reigns to walk out as still the WWE Universal Champion. It's not going to be the most popular pick, but I think it's the most logical pick in terms of a storyline. I feel like the story between Jay and Roman is nowhere near over. This Bloodline story is nowhere near over at this point. But I think for this match in particular, Jay Uso does fall to the Tribal Chief. It's probably due to shenanigans. It's probably due to interference. It's probably due to hook or by crook. Maybe they have Jimmy turn on Jay, even though I don't necessarily think they're going to do that. But my pick for the main event of SummerSlam is Roman Reigns versus Jay Uso for the Universal Championship. But the pick to win the match is Roman Reigns to retain and walk out still the Universal Champion in one of the best emotional matches, and a match we've looked forward to, or at least I've looked forward to, for close to a year now. So give me Roman Reigns versus Jay Uso, and Roman Reigns to retain the Universal Championship. And that's going to be it for my preview, predictions, and fantasy booking, I guess you could say, for SummerSlam 2023 in Detroit. If you like this fantasy booking video, check out my other wrestling discussions and fantasy booking videos on the channel, and go out of your way to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of the pro wrestling or MMA uploads on one of the best combat sports and pro wrestling channels on YouTube in the Touch 'Em Up podcast. I'm your host, Double M, and I'm out. Let's get ready for the biggest party of the summer, baby.